here? I am good. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. If you could start by just telling who you are and what your business is.
So my name is Jehan. I am the owner of Jehan LLC Photography. I started my business in 2009 under the name of Document Photography. I started officially my business August 9th of 2009. And I started it with just a basic website, got some business cards, and went to a networking event. And that was the start of it. I did work a corporate job the first 7 years of my business. I'm now in year 13. So I was a business analyst for 20 years total. And I worked my last corporate job up until the end of 2017.
Then you started photography in 2009. So you were doing both for a while then.
Absolutely. So I would do it after work. I would do it on the weekends. So it was kind of like I had to build while still, supporting myself at the same time, because you support yourself off of a new business.
Why photography? What got you into that?
Oh, the funny thing is I have a history with photography. I actually took photography in high school. And people knew me, a lot of people knew me because I did take photos all the time and I would sell them. So I was taking black and white photography where I learned to develop and print my own photos. So I would buy a piece of photographic paper for 32 cents and then sell my images for $1. So back then, that was a little bit of money. That was like late night, no, not mid-90s. I don't even remember when I went to school. I graduated in 95. But, that was my little hustle. I would get money from my dad to buy the paper, and then I would flip the money, pretty much. Taking pictures around school of my friends, things that were going on.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I went back to college in my early 30s, I was going to school for graphic design, and it required some photography courses. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really started, when you're in corporate and you're looking and you're like, because this is not fulfilling. I really don't want to be here. Like, I don't like this. I have to pray to stay in my seat. And I started taking those courses. I figured out that that passion was there. I was just like, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And then my very first event, my big event, I did a charity event for a fraternity, and they had Walter Beasley as the performer. And I made in 4 hours in that night what would almost take me an entire week to make in corporate. And I was just like,
wow.
I might want to rethink what I'm doing with my life.
So, all right. So clearly you just always had a passion for photography. Do you feel like you have to have a certain eye to be able to be actually good at what you do?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think that you have to have your own individualized eye. You don't want to try to recreate what somebody else is doing. Because you can spot that and you see it and you're just like, people will go to them, but people want originality. They like to see people have a vision for their shoot that is just not going to be cookie cutter, just like somebody else's. And you have to be able to see the things that other people can't see. For me, it's doors and framing. I'm looking at all the elements around a person that's going to frame them in this picture to make it interesting, to make it art, but also make it a good portrait as well.
Wow. So was there anybody in your family that was into photography?
So my dad was actually a photographer. My dad is he was an engineer, and he was a photographer. And he actually used to develop his photos. And we had a small bedroom that was like an office. And he would develop photos in those rooms. So he would take portraits. He would take, team photos. And, he kind of did it on the side. And then after a while, he really didn't do it too much. Like he did do me and my sister's senior photos. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, he really didn't do a whole lot with it after that.
So do you think that had a little bit to do with the inspiration for you? Like just seeing your dad do it, did that kind of make you start doing it in high school because of that?
I think as a child, seeing that, I'm sure, know, any exposure can influence you, you know,
Right.
as far as like, this is what happens. I actually got my first camera when I was 10, well before high school. I had like a little Kodak 110. I don't know if you remember those little flat cameras. Um,
Hmm.
but I think there was always something there that loved to capture images. So I will say that, you know, it was definitely influence. As far as making it a career, it was just, I want to do something that makes me happy.
Yeah. So that was the camera where it came out and you had to fan
No,
it.
no, so it wasn't
Oh,
one of the, that's the Polaroid. It was like a
oh,
little
oh.
small flat rectangular camera.
Okay, yeah, kind of like a
Yeah.
boxy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Yep.
okay.
And it had like this little like strange little roll thing that it was like
Yeah.
kind of long and had a roll on each side and you just stuck it in. And I would
Wow.
send that to my dad and he would go get them developed at what is it? I forget what if it was a Walgreens back then. I don't remember
Or like
what
Rite Aid. Was it a Rite Aid?
it was, probably, you
Or
know what? Probably Rite Aid.
I remember Rite Aid.
Right.
So, all right, I'm just so curious about, I've always saw on TV those rooms where it's like red light and it's the water and you dip the picture in the water and
Mhm.
they're hanging up. What
Yeah.
is that? What's that room called? Have you ever worked with that?
So it's a dark room. So
Oh,
basically, the chemical combination along with the photographic paper causes the image to appear once you. So let me back up a little bit. So you want to use oh gosh, I can't think of the name of the machine. Basically, you take your negative, you put it in this machine, it shines down on the photographic paper. You then put it in the solution, and then that brings the image to it brings the image to life pretty much. And then you hang it to dry it off because you're soaking it in solution. So the picture is technically wet at that point. So that's what you have to have a special type of lighting because if the photographic paper is exposed to real light, it'll just turn black. So
oh,
yeah.
nice. So is that is that expensive?
Dark rooms can be expensive. The chemicals are expensive. The machines are expensive. Like everything about that is expensive. And it has, you know, I don't know if you've ever been in a dark room, but it smells like vinegar. So
Smells
it's
like vinegar.
yeah. The solution smells like vinegar, a real strong vinegar. Um,
Hmm,
yeah,
interesting.
people don't really use dark rooms that much anymore because everything
Right.
is digital, but you know, there are some people that still use film that want to print their photos that way.
Yeah, I always was curious about that. So that's real interesting to hear you been doing this really since you were a little girl. And
Yes.
you are like really your gift is blossomed into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. So what was that transition like? And what were some highs and lows with that transition?
Whew. So, you know, if we talk about this journey is probably going to take about 5 minutes for me to explain this. But so 2009, I start the business. 2010, I get laid off. I had been at
Mm,
the job for 10 years. And you don't know what you don't know. I hadn't even been in business for a full year, but I'm thinking like I'm getting a severance, you know, had a little money saved up. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna do this. 2 years later, I found myself back looking for a job. Um, you know, it just doesn't work like that. You know, I always tell people, you have to be a stronger business person than a photographer. It's like 90% business, 10% skill. Like if you can't get that business part, you can't do anything. It doesn't matter how talented you are. So I went back
mm,
to work. I was working a contract job. Then that was for a year. And then after that, I kind of was like in limbo for like a year. And during that time, that's when financially things got a little rough because I was having a hard time finding something. It didn't make sense to work a job that, you know, wasn't going to make the ends meet because I was still going to find myself in the same place. And
mm.
literally, I took a temporary job at Nationwide. Now, I will say temporarily until they found me something else. I was like, I'll take this to get some money flowing in. But I literally remember laying on my bed, like in tears, like I'm about to lose everything. Like I've never been this close to not being able to pay my bills. My landlord had been extremely lenient with me, as well as I had some help and some support from friends. But you get to a point where you're just like, you can't ask anybody anymore.
Yeah.
And I had, you know, a son. I think he was maybe 12 or 13 at that time. But I had applied for a job at Nationwide. And what had happened was it actually took them a little bit longer to get back to me because the HR person was on vacation. So I remember going into work that day and I was just thinking, like, I didn't get the job. Like, I'm going to have to figure something out because I don't have the money to keep, you know, trying to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
And I was getting ready to leave that day, and the lady from HR called me. And it was just like everybody that sat in the row, you know, they were listening to the conversation because they all knew. But your growth and your potential, and, you know, they stick around for it. They support you. Like, you know, yeah, you might have maybe look crazy the first time, but, you know, I see your growth. I believe in you. I support you. And I think the next time he came in, like, we took a photo that to his day is probably one of my favorite shots. It's got a red background and he's got a hat on, and, you know, he was laughing in the photo, and it's just like, it was like perfection, you know? Um, but yeah,
That's
so
all.
it's been a
Yeah.
long.
It's always good to have loyal customers too. Have
Mhm.
now, as you transition, you finally left your job. I know you said there were a lot of people that supported you, but were there people who didn't support you either with this transition? And if so, what was that like? How did you handle it?
So, that's an interesting, funny, and, you know, kind of testimony question because at the time, early on, I actually was dating someone, and they told me that you'll always need to keep a corporate job because you won't be able to build your business to the point of just solely being able to do photography in Columbus, Ohio. And
Okay.
you know, that kind of stung a little bit because I felt
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm a dreamer, I'm an adventurer. And even if I don't see the proof in it, like, I see something bigger than where I'm at. And um, yeah, so that would be the unsupportive part. And sometimes you got to make people eat their words.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
like, that's
And
all
it,
that one.
and so when you say you make them eat their words, what does that look like for you? It's different for everybody. What does that look like for you?
So I wouldn't say doing thing with ill intention, but it's just like you keep pressing, you keep building, you keep being you know, being authentically you, because that's what's going to attract the people and the customers that are for you. You keep learning, you keep growing, you keep, you know, reaching out to the people that, you know, are mentors that, you know, have been in this game longer than you. You just keep going, and what you are trying to get to will come to you. You know, it's, you can't be, you know, you got to be relentless with it. And that's what making people eat their words means. You know, there have been people that have had to apologize to me because they didn't see the vision. They didn't believe,
Wow.
support myself, you know, with the business. Not necessarily as, you know, negative as what he said, but, you know, people were just kind of like, I don't know. But it's just,
Yeah.
I find my lane and I found my lane and I drive in it, you know? So that's what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that's so amazing because people really forget that there are just sometimes there's negative, just like there's positive, and this is why you have to have a certain sense of tough skin to be in this industry as an entrepreneur. So that's why I always ask that question because every single person I ask that question to, they always have an experience of something negative. Nobody has ever told me that they haven't had someone that wasn't negative. And so I think it's important, and I'm glad you shared, like, what's your way of keep pushing? What's your way of making them eat their words? It's different for everybody. So I think that's really important. I just wanted to make awareness to that. And so what is it like now? So now you're a full-time entrepreneur. How often do you work? Are you working every single day, like around the clock? How is it for you?
So it varies actually. There are weeks when I am like gone from sun up to sundown. There are weeks where like I maybe work a couple of shoots. There are weeks where I work no shoots. But what I've learned is I've started creating time and stop looking at time as, oh, I have time here, I can do this shoot here. And instead of telling people, oh, like, well, I'm not working this week, I'll say, well, I don't have availability that week, but I can get you in, 2 weeks from now, and kind of group everything together. So I have to find that space to create time for myself, because you will burn yourself out running everywhere, every day, all the time. I'm not one of those. I'm definitely not a team no sleep, because I like my sleep.
No, that's right.
I am a go hard and then go home, or something, stay home today. So, you know, that's what that looks like. It's just like you'll never know by looking at my social media what I'm doing unless I post. It's like, oh, this appointment today, and I don't even share all the time. Like sometimes I have appointments all day, and I've said nothing on social media. I don't even log on. Then there's days where like I'm posting things, but you don't know that I didn't have any shoots that day. So it's like you kind of have to keep it quiet because you want to keep your peace. You want
Hmm.
to rest, and just have some time for yourself. It's so important.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Now, what about mentorship? As in your journey throughout your years, did you ever have a mentor? And if you did, what was that experience like for you?
So I've had a variety of mentors, and I'll say this is that a mentor in my life doesn't mean that I consistently talk to you every day, we communicate every day, but it means that, we may have a pocket of time where we communicate a lot and then we don't,
Mhm.
or out because I have a question. So I even, consider one particular lady a mentor, and, she has a real estate brokerage. Like she, is a phenomenal woman. She's built this huge business. She has a home in South Carolina. She has one here. She has one in Belize. Like, and this is a black, you know, I want to know, how you build success, not necessarily a photography business. And
Yes.
I think that, we continue to grow in that aspect, because what happens when you no longer want to have the type of business that you have? You still have to have that strong business acumen. And then there's, people locally that have been mentors. Shelly Fisher, who is a local photographer. She does a lot of like large event photography. She did photography for Mayor Coleman and now the current mayor. She's definitely been a mentor. So, those people, they may not, officially take that name with me, but I look at them as mentors. So.
Okay, that's good to know too. Because my next question was going to be, have you ever paid for mentorship or any sort of classes to perfect what you do?
So absolutely. I try to do at least one conference or workshop a year that builds upon my skill set, because I believe that you can never know everything, and different people have a different eye on how they do things. So there is a conference called the Cookout that a black woman actually created to create space for us, because we weren't getting the calls to do the large conferences. So it's kind of a platform for, it's actually neat, because you come in the first day and there's like, we have like, they call it the family reunion.
Okay.
Huge cookout, it's, all the photographers, mostly black photographers, and you kick it like it's a family reunion, and then it goes into the actual conference the next day. So I've done that, several years. I did a conference called Blink that was by a husband and wife team. This year, I went to New York actually a couple weeks ago, the beginning of August, with a photographer named Audrey Willard, who is a black female photographer in Chicago, and she's been doing photography for a long time. And it was an amazing hands-on all-day workshop where she showed everything that she does, how she creates everything that she does. So it's important to constantly build, learn, and grow with anything that you do. So.
Wow. So yeah, that's good stuff. Because I was going to ask, what do they do in those type of conferences? But she's like, is it like angles? Look this way, sit a certain way.
So some of the conferences are people talking about how they built their particular business. Some people have wedding photography businesses that's solely wedding photography. Some people have newborn photography that's solely newborn photography. Some people are talking about uh, CRMs, your customer relation management systems, marketing, being an inspiration to your customers so that, that helps build on ideas for their shoots.
Okay. Like building your business,
Yes,
basically.
yes. So it's everything all in one. It might be a couple different shootouts, photography shootouts.
Oh, like, okay.
Or like stuff that I just went to, we literally were on the streets of New York just photographing different models all day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at this point, are you getting booked? Are you traveling a lot for jobs?
So it's I would say a fourth of my business is traveling. It may not be necessarily, getting on a plane, but it may be, driving to Cincinnati, driving to Cleveland, driving to Pittsburgh. I had an opportunity in California a few years back for a leadership conference. So even the Italy trip that I just went on, that was business for an artist exchange opportunity that was with the city of Columbus and the Arts Council and
Oh,
City. So yeah, I mean the opportunity is endless as far as what I've been offered and what's to come.
so how do you put yourself in a position to be able to get such opportunities?
That's the crazy thing is I'm always been like I am naturally introverted. I can definitely turn it on and turn it off though. But networking, you just got to know the right people.
Mhm.
I and sometimes when you're interested in an opportunity, reaching out to the people that are the gatekeepers for it with the exchange artist opportunity. I never had heard of Columbus Sister Cities, and that's who.
Okay.
But they found me and started having a conversation with me, and it was just getting your name out there. You have to network and network every place, and be willing to speak about what you do, regardless of where you are. Like I always find a way when I'm meeting new people to work that into the conversation.
Yes, I say that all the time. How do you feel about having partners or a team or somebody to hold you accountable to make sure that you stay motivated? Do you think that